Inspiration, flood me with ideas when me under meditation. Poverty is a sickness when them are the medication.
The music industry has always been a battlefield between excess and redemption. Some artists spent decades chasing fame, only to discover something greater waiting on the other side. These 10 musicians shocked fans when they embraced Christianity and transformed their lives. If you're ready for stories that changed music history forever, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a moment. Number 10. Bob Dylan.
What did you hear, my blue-eyed son? What did you hear, my darling young...
The most influential songwriter of the 20th century stunned the world in 1979 when news broke that he had become a born-again Christian. The story begins on November 17, 1978. During a concert in San Diego, an audience member threw a small silver cross onto the stage, and Dylan slipped it into his pocket. The following night, alone in a hotel room in Tucson, Arizona, he later said he experienced a presence so overwhelming he could only describe it as Jesus. His whole body began to tremble.
He said she would always stay.
The man who defined folk protest music suddenly refused to perform his classic hits. Instead, he released 3 gospel albums: Slow Train Coming in 1979, Saved in 1980, and Shot of Love in 1981. His tours became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Dylan performed only gospel material, rejecting requests for Blowin' in the Wind or Like a Rolling Stone. And fans walked out. Critics savaged him. John Lennon recorded a parody track called Serve Yourself, mocking the conversion directly. But Dylan never wavered. The Jewish folk icon had found something he believed he had been searching for his entire career, and the backlash simply did not matter anymore. Number 9. Alice Cooper.
Telephone is ringing. You got me on the run.
Shock rock's godfather built an empire on guillotines, fake blood, and theatrical mayhem. By the early 1980s, Alice Cooper was drowning in alcohol and cocaine, vomiting blood backstage, and facing a clinical diagnosis of cirrhosis of the liver that placed him in genuine danger of dying before reaching middle age. He completed rehabilitation in 1983 and returned to the faith of his childhood with a conviction that surprised everyone who had watched him spend a decade celebrating everything that faith opposed.
I went to church, incognito, when everybody rose.
His father had served as a Christian pastor for 25 years, but Cooper had run as far from the church as possible. The transformation was total and permanent. Cooper has maintained sobriety since 1983, more than 4 decades, and has never publicly wavered. In a 1996 NBC interview, he described himself as the real prodigal son, having wandered into darkness before finding his way home. Today, he still performs theatrical rock shows to sold-out crowds while leading a weekly Bible study at his Phoenix home. He credits Jesus with saving his life when medicine, willpower, and fame had all proven insufficient.
Mother thrown out of the social circle, and Dad has to hide.
Number 8. Al Green.
Well, times are good or bad, happy or sad.
Let's Stay Together made him one of the most beloved soul singers of the 1970s. But one horrific night in October 1974 shattered his world completely. After he declined his girlfriend Mary Woodson's marriage proposal, she poured scalding hot grits over him in his Memphis home before taking her own life. Green spent months recovering from severe burns, simultaneously processing the psychological trauma of what had unfolded in his own home that night.
From shining, what makes the world?
He had become a born-again Christian a year earlier in 1973, but the tragedy accelerated everything. Green devoted himself completely to ministry. He became an ordained pastor in 1976 and purchased the Full Gospel Tabernacle in Memphis, Tennessee, where he has preached ever since. His soul classics gave way to gospel recordings as he transformed from R&B superstar to full-time minister. Green still preaches at his church today and remains one of only 2 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees who are ordained ministers. The voice that once sang about romantic love now delivers sermons to congregations seeking something more permanent than any pop song can offer.
Makes the world hold her.
Number 7. Richie Furay. Springfield and Poco made Richie Furay a pioneer of country rock in the 1960s and 1970s. While recording with the Souther Hillman Furay Band at Caribou Ranch in Colorado in 1974, steel guitarist Al Perkins suggested Furay explore Christianity more seriously. That single conversation planted a seed that grew into a complete career transformation nobody in the music industry anticipated. Furay converted and began studying theology with the same intensity he had once devoted entirely to music. In 1982, he co-founded what became Calvary Chapel of Broomfield, Colorado, serving as its senior pastor for roughly 35 years before retiring in August 2017. He stands alongside Al Green as one of only 2 ordained ministers in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Furay occasionally performs his classic songs at special events, but his primary calling has remained spiritual leadership for more than 4 decades. The man who helped define the California country rock sound found something more fulfilling than any platinum record could ever provide.
My eyes closed, I went insane like a
Number 6. Lou Gramm.
filled eyes with that double vision.
Farner dominated album rock radio throughout the 1980s, with anthems like I Want to Know What Love Is and Cold as Ice, and Lou Gramm's powerful voice drove every recording. But behind the commercial triumph, Gramm was battling addiction with increasing desperation. A stint in rehabilitation forced him to confront what his life had become when the stage lights went dark each night. Then, in April 1997, he was diagnosed with a benign brain tumor called a craniopharyngioma, a life-threatening condition that brought his mortality into focus with sudden clarity. Gramm, who had become a born-again Christian in 1992, described his faith as the central pillar of his survival during a recovery that required him to relearn basic functions the surgery had temporarily taken away. He departed Foreigner permanently in 2003 and recorded a Christian rock album with the Lou Gramm Band in 2009. His live performances since have featured both the Foreigner anthems that made him famous and songs rooted in his Christian faith, demonstrating how completely redemption can reshape an artist without erasing the work that came before. Before we continue, which of these conversions surprised you the most? Did you grow up listening to any of these artists before they found faith? Drop a comment and let us know where in the world you are watching from. Number 5. Mark Farner.
Pain and blisters on my mind and hands. Work all day.
Grand Funk Railroad sold all 55,000 tickets for their July 9, 1971 Shea Stadium concert in just 72 hours, faster than the Beatles had sold out the same venue in August 1965. Mark Farner's guitar work and vocals powered anthems like We're an American Band and I'm Your Captain, songs that connected with working-class American audiences in ways that more critically celebrated acts never quite managed. But somewhere between the platinum albums and the sold-out arenas, Farner began questioning seriously what any of it meant in a lasting sense. His spiritual search led him to Christianity in the late 1970s, and the transformation affected every dimension of his life. Farner has spent decades performing Grand Funk classics, while also appearing regularly at Christian rock festivals, using the same voice that once sang about American bands to testify about salvation and purpose. The combination of rock legacy and genuine faith has defined his public life for longer now than his years at the commercial peak of his career. Number 4. Kerry Livgren.
All the earth, dust in the wind, dust in the wind.
Kansas, created some of the most philosophically ambitious progressive rock of the 1970s. Chief songwriter Kerry Livgren penned both Carry On Wayward Son and Dust in the Wind, songs that approached eternal questions about meaning and mortality with a seriousness that set the band entirely apart from their contemporaries on rock radio. Livgren was not simply writing lyrics designed to sound profound. He was genuinely searching for truth through Eastern religions, mysticism, and ancient philosophy. None of those paths satisfied the questions burning inside him, regardless of how many albums sold. By the late 1970s, at the peak of Kansas's commercial fame, Livgren found his answer in Christianity. The same restless mind that had explored every available spiritual avenue finally settling with conviction. His conversion influenced Kansas's later recordings and led him to form Christian rock projects, including A.D. The wayward son he had written about so memorably had, in the end, come home to exactly the place the song described. Number 3. Papa San. Jamaican reggae and dancehall made Papa San a Caribbean superstar throughout the 1990s, his commanding presence establishing him as one of the dominant forces in a genre reaching new international audiences every year. But between 1993 and 1997, tragedy arrived repeatedly. His brother was murdered in 1993. His sister died in a motorcycle accident. His cousin was killed by police. Papa San himself faced serious weapons charges that threatened everything he had built. The accumulation of death, grief, and legal chaos became a weight that secular success could not lighten. In 1997, at what might have been his commercial peak, Papa San stepped away from dancehall entirely and embraced Christianity with a completeness that shocked Jamaica's music community. He traded secular success for gospel reggae, transforming his lyrical content and personal purpose from the ground up. Papa San's conversion and subsequent career inspired an entire generation of Caribbean gospel artists who found in his example a viable path from dancehall culture into Christian music.
Never willing, we come to give thanksgiving. Jesus, I love you.
Number 2. Little Richard. The architect of rock and roll defined a generation with Tutti Frutti, Long Tall Sally, and Good Golly Miss Molly. His wild piano playing and flamboyant performances creating a blueprint that virtually every rock star who followed would consciously or unconsciously copy. The energy, the showmanship, the complete physical commitment to performance. Little Richard established the template before most of his successors were old enough to attend his concerts.
Ready to rock and roll, all the flat top cats, now we're done with dogs. I headed for the gym to the sock hop.
At the absolute peak of his fame in October 1957, while touring Australia, Richard shocked the entertainment world by announcing he was quitting rock and roll completely. He has described seeing the streak of the Soviet Union's newly launched Sputnik satellite across the Sydney sky as a divine sign directed personally at him. He dedicated his life to God on that spot and meant every word of it. Richard enrolled at Oakwood College in Huntsville, Alabama, to study theology and became an ordained minister. He recorded gospel albums and preached throughout the South, abandoning the secular music that had made him internationally famous. Though he later returned to rock and roll in the early 1960s, that 1957 conversion remains one of the most dramatic and costly acts of spiritual commitment in music history.
To the east, she's running to the west, but she's a girl that I love best.
Number 1. Lieutenant Stitchie. Jamaican DJ. Lieutenant Stitchie commanded the dancehall scene throughout the 1990s with rapid-fire delivery and formidable street credibility, building an audience stretching from Kingston to the Caribbean diaspora across North America and the United Kingdom. His reputation rested on authenticity, music that genuinely reflected the community that claimed him.
Me used to fight Mrs. Smiley and Michigan. Lyrics from
In 1997, everything changed in a single violent moment. Stitchie survived a devastating car crash that came close to killing him outright. Lying in the wreckage and staring at his own mortality with a directness that no amount of professional success could soften, he made a promise to God. If he survived, he would change his life completely and without reservation. Stitchie kept that promise. He walked away from secular dancehall entirely and switched to gospel reggae, performing now simply as Stitchie. The crash transformed not just his music, but his entire understanding of what his life and platform were meant to accomplish. He became one of Jamaica's most prominent gospel reggae artists, proving that redemption could reach even the hardest corners of dancehall culture.
Hey, don't you love we live with plenty, and we all fall short of your glory.
The man who once celebrated street life now uses every stage he stands on to spread the faith he believes saved him when the wreckage could easily have become his grave.